Perfect. Very good afternoon, and of course, a happy new year to all of you that are joining me. Of course, my name is Chris, and I'm one of the Shortcuts educators. So, welcome back for all of my new masterclasses. I'm hopefully going to be able to join me all of my future ones. Lots of things coming through moving forward. Today, we're going to be running through our cloud features, our cloud appointment book. Now, there are lots of fantastic features that go in to make the cloud what it is. Today, I'm going to get through as many as I can. And for some of you that have used the cloud before, you may be aware that the cloud does have cloud reporting and KPIs and things like that. We're not going to be touching on that today. That's sort of a session in itself, but we're going to be touching on all the other fantastic bits that go into the cloud. Now, just before we do get started, so first things first, the duration of this webinar, it's going to be approximately 60 minutes. It may be a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, depending on the questions that we get. My microphone is switched on, whereas everyone else has automatically been muted. But if you do want to unmute yourself and have a little chat with me, that's perfectly fine to do so. And of course, your speakers must be turned on to hear this webinar. And questions will be taken during or at the end of the webinar using the chat box. But as I say, if you want to unmute yourself, have a little chat with me, that is perfectly fine to do so. So for those of you that have joined me for my masterclasses before, you know we have a mixture of PowerPoint presentation and live demonstration. I try and keep it live, entertaining, everything like that. I'm quite a visual person. Today's class is going to be around sort of 20% PowerPoints, and the rest we're going to get right into the fun stuff. We're going to be doing those live demonstrations. So, of course, if everyone just wants to take a few minutes now, I know a couple of people still joining us. If you just want to get yourself comfortable, grab yourself a drink just very quickly, make sure you can hear me nice and loud, and we're going to get started in just a second. Perfect. Excellent stuff. Okay, so let's get started with our January Masterclass webinar on the Cloud Appointment Book. So here's the deal. Today, we're going to learn why you should be using the Cloud Appointment Book, and it's going to become quite apparent quite quickly why we should be using the Cloud Appointment Book. We're also going to be taking a look at the roles and permissions within the cloud. So what we can access, what our staff can see, what our staff can do. We're also going to be looking at the dedicated targets feature. So what is a targets feature? Well, it's a very simple way to set up and track staff targets. Now, these are weekly targets. These can be things such as services, retail, rebookings, everything that average client spend. It's a fantastic way to keep on top of your diary. And it's also great if you are target-based or commission-based or anything like that. So it's perfect to be able to see exactly where you're up to. And it's completely live as well. So any services you add on or any retail you add on will update automatically within a few minutes. We're also going to be taking a look at pre-arrival forms. This is a brand new feature we sort of launched around a month or two ago. And it's a fantastic way to send out custom forms or customer forms to your customers before they arrive. So maybe skin tests or any data that you want them to fill out prior to the appointment. And of course, we're also going to be taking a look at related services. So related services is, of course, saying when we book a colour, we also have a cut involved with it as well. It's a great way to increase the average price of a service. And we also look at things like recommended services. So if you are booking a manicure, maybe we would recommend a soak-off. If you're booking a manicure, maybe we'd recommend a pedicure. And again, it's that fantastic way to get that organic upsell. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. The cloud, roles and permissions within, targets, pre-arrival email forms, and related services. So as we move forward, of course, introducing the Cloud Appointment Book. So what is it? It's, of course, a fully functioning mobile appointment book that you can use anytime, anywhere. You can view those upcoming appointments, make new appointments, access client record cards and history, add tasks. So basically, it's the best bits of your Fusion appointment book, but in the cloud. And of course, all you need is an internet connection, or of course, data as well. And you can have it on as many devices as you like. So why do we need it? So work with a flexibility that suits you, your business and your lifestyle. You can achieve a bit more mobility in a salon. So of course you can be adding history notes, you can be adding things to the point of sale, you can be checking history, everything like that. You can rebook the next appointment while they're still lounging in the chair. So we don't need to do it at the reception desk. You can do it in the beauty salon or at the nail bar for our technicians that are watching. You can also check the customer history by their side and update their details from the privacy of a treatment room. So nothing worse than always going through the history at the reception desk or looking at anything like that. Let's do it in the privacy of the treatment room. And it helps you provide an even more personalized and attentive guest experience. So we can be doing that side by side. We can grab our phone, we can grab a tablet or an iPad, anything like that. We can be looking at the cloud, we can be looking at rebooking the appointment, we can be looking at the history, we can add things to the point of sale. It just keeps a nice personalized process. So then introducing the cloud upsell, so on the back of that. So as we said, we can add products and services to the point of sale screen from the convenience of a tablet or smartphone. Service providers can create a more personalized experience for the client by recommending products or services in the chair or the treatment room, rather than trying to upsell at the checkout. So as we also know as well, when we're trying to sell products or add on retail at the reception desk, that customer is already thinking about leaving the salon for the day. They're thinking about getting back to work or their husband, wives, or children, whatever it may be. If we're doing it in the styling seat or in the treatment room, it's a lot more personalized and we're more likely to grab the customer's attention. And of course, when the customer gets to the point of sale, the products will already be there waiting for them, providing a more premium experience. So we can add it to the point of sale screen. It will feed back to the reception desk. And then, of course, as soon as the customer arrives at the reception desk to be checked out, the products can be ready for them. It's a faster and more seamless checkout experience. So what's so great about it? Well, avoid missing product sales by adding those items onto the sale during the visit. And did you add on any services during your consultation? Did you update the point of sale transaction right from the chair? And of course, never miss charging for an upsell again. If you have just joined us, I noticed just one or two people just joined us there. The session is being recorded as well, so we can always send that. We're just getting into the beginning bit of the cloud appointment book there. So for those couple of people that are literally just joining us now, hello, welcome. The session has been recorded, so we were literally just going through what's so great about it. So never miss charging for an upsell again. So as we said, we can be adding on those products at the point of sale screen in the cloud, and then as soon as that customer gets to the reception desk, those products are ready to go. And of course, we've all done it. How many of us have been there where we've added on a toner, we've added on a treatment, we spoke about it in the consultation, and then we completely forget. We crack on with the service, and then we get to the end and we forget to completely add it on, and we've missed out on 10, 20, 30 pounds of the bill. So with the cloud, grab your tablet, grab your smartphone, add that product on in the treatment room, in a styling chair, wherever it may be, and that will be ready to go as soon as that customer checks out. So we spoke at the beginning, and we also have in the cloud appointment book, we have what we call related and recommended services. Now, this is an additional feature that can be found in the cloud. It's not in everybody's package. It's for the Elevate and Elevate Plus users, but please don't worry. It's usually about 15 to 20 pounds extra, but it will pay for itself very quickly. And how will it do that? Quite simply, if we're relating services, so if we book a color that has to have a cut, we're already including that cut into the bill. And if we're then recommending services, so maybe we're recommending a treatment, maybe we're recommending a manicure, we're organically upselling. So of course then, what is this related and recommended services? It's a sophisticated new way to assist clients making online bookings. You can create service pairings that prompt clients to select a finishing service or suggest complementary services. Related services refers to online booking enhancements that introduce two types of service relationships, required and recommended services. Both these service relationships enable improved service selection capabilities for clients when making an online booking. In addition, it gives you the power to create more sophisticated service associations. So as we said there, when a customer books online, we can relate services together. When a customer books a color, they have to book a cut. Or we can then recommend services. If they're booking a color, we would recommend a toner. If we're booking a manicure, we would recommend a pedicure. It's an organic upsell, and it removes that awkward conversation as well. And we're going to be taking a look at related and recommended services in around 30 minutes time. So of course, we're now going to move into our live demonstration. So if you do want to get your hands on this, give our customer care team a call on 0161 972 4900, and it's option 1 and then option 2. So from here, we're now ready to move into our live demonstration. So the first thing we're going to take a look at for this afternoon, ladies and gents, is of course, how do we access this cloud appointment book? So there is quite simply a very quick and very easy way to access the cloud appointment book, as we discussed at the beginning. All that is required to run the cloud is an internet connection. So of course, because it is cloud-based, it just requires an internet connection. Therefore, it is a website URL. However, there is a very, very quick way to access the cloud. Now, some of you may have noticed this, some of you may not have noticed this, but underneath the underneath your, can I just check, can everyone just see my screen okay? Can you see my main Fusion system just very quickly? Perfect, excellent stuff. Okay, so there's a very, very quick way to get to the cloud appointment book. And some of you may have seen this before, some of you may not have seen this before, but underneath your pin screen, when you're looking at your main Fusion system, you will see there is an option that says console login, and it's this option just here down the bottom. Now, some of you may have looked at this and thought, I have absolutely no idea what that does. This is a very quick way to get to your cloud appointment book. So we're going to start by going through the online console. So we're going to click this console login button just here down the bottom. And what that will do, as soon as we click onto it, it will take us to the online console. Now, once we're in the online console, you will notice in the top right-hand corner, there is an option that says Shortcuts Cloud. As soon as we click this top right option, it will take us into our cloud appointment book. So we can see there a very simple but very effective way to get to the cloud, just using the console as a stepping stone. Once we click onto the Shortcuts Cloud, it will take us into our cloud diary. Now, as we said, the cloud appointment book just requires an internet connection. So if you do want to just run this directly on your phone or your internet, all you need to do is type in the dedicated web address, and that can be found under pos.shortcutssoftware.com. That's pos.shortcutssoftware.com. Now, when you type that in, it's going to ask you for some credentials. It's going to ask you for your username, and it's going to ask you for a password. Those credentials are exactly the same as your online console, so you've essentially only got one set of credentials. It's exactly the same that you use to log in. If you're struggling to log in, please let me know. I can always reset that or create new logins to get the ball rolling. Now, when we're looking at our cloud appointment book, you might be thinking, okay, well, I'm on the internet and I've typed in that web address, that pos.shortcutssoftware.com. Do I have to keep typing in that web address every single time? No, you don't. There's a very quick way to get around it. So all you need to do is simply save it to the home screen of your mobile phone or your tablet. Now, to save a website to the home screen of your mobile phone is very simple to do. If you're using an iPhone, down the center bottom, you'll typically see the Apple Share button. This will have a square with an arrow facing upwards in it. We tap onto that Apple Share button. We're going to click the Add To button, and then we're going to click the Add to Home screen. Now, that's typically how we do it on an iPhone. We've got the Apple Share button down the bottom. If we're doing this on an Android, in the top right-hand corner, you will typically see 3 dots or 3 lines. You can tap onto that and it's exactly the same. Add to and then add to home screen. So why do we do that? Well, we do that so we don't have to keep typing in a dedicated web address, pos.shortcutssoftware.com. If you're struggling with that, we can always bookmark it, or of course you can type in the web address every single time. But that is a way just to save it to your home screen so it functions essentially like an app. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to look at setting up further staff members. So how do we do this? So once we're in the cloud, on the left-hand side, you're going to see a navigation bar with some options. And if we work all the way down to the left-hand side, you're going to see an employees icon. We can click onto the employees icon. And underneath, we're going to select employees. To the left-hand side, you will see a list of all of your staff members. All you need to do is simply select the staff member. And in the bottom left-hand corner, you will see an option that says Roles. Once we've clicked onto Roles, to the right-hand side, you will see we have Login Access. Simply toggle Login Access from No to Yes. And underneath, you'll see we've got username and email. Now, as a rule of thumb, we typically keep the username the same as an email address. It doesn't have to be that, but most people will probably find their username is their email address. It's essentially so we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. So you would just go ahead and pop your username in there. Underneath, we will need an email address. So why do we now need an email address underneath? Quite simply, so you will be sent your credentials. You'll be sent the password. That'll be a random password, which you can change by clicking your profile initials in the top right-hand corner. And you'll also be sent the website URL to access the cloud, which of course we know as pos.shortcutssoftware.com. Now, underneath, you will see we have some role types, and you'll typically have 3. Underneath, you'll see you've got Company Manager. This is a role type across all locations. So if you're a multi-site user with multiple locations, Company Manager will give Company Director access across all locations. That means they can make appointments inside and outside of the working hours. They can see all columns, they can see all reports, and pretty much everything. As we said, that should be really for the owners and company managers and directors. Underneath that, you'll see 2 site roles. You'll see Employee and you'll see Site Manager. Now, both of these role types have what we call default levels of permissions, and we're going to take a little bit of a further look at those permissions in just a moment. But as we said, those role types have default levels of permissions, and we're going to talk about those now. So, the employee role type by default will give this staff member access to their own column only. So essentially, this will only give Sophie her own column. They can only make appointments during their working hours. So they can only edit their appointment diary during their working hours. Outside of their working hours, they will have what we call a view mode only, which means they can only view their diary, but they cannot make changes. They can also only see their own performance summary. Site Manager. Site Manager will give this staff member access to all employee columns. They'll also have access to configuration items, such as what we're doing now, so to be able to set staff members up with logins. They'll also be able to view, edit, and make appointments both inside and outside of the working hours of the business, so essentially around the clock. And they'll also be able to see all financial and business reports. Now, as we said, they're the 2 sort of default role types, but we're going to take a look at adjusting those levels of permission in just a sec. So all we would do for there is select the correct role type and click Done in the bottom right-hand corner. And you can now see login successfully created for Sophie at Shortcuts. Now, if any of your staff members are struggling to log in, or you think they may have already been set up with the Cloud Appointment Book, but they can't remember their logins, all we need to do is go into exactly the same. We're just going to go to Employees on the left-hand side. We're going to choose the dedicated employees icon just here. We're going to select the relevant employee. And towards the bottom, you will notice there is an option that says Logins that will resend logins to this customer. Sorry, to this employee, not customer. I do apologize. It will go to this employee. So we've spoken about those default levels of permissions there, the company manager, the site manager, and the employee. But what about if we want to change those levels of permission? Or maybe you're thinking, do you know what? Maybe I want to create my own. So maybe one with a little bit higher access than employee, but a little bit less access than site manager, maybe assistant manager or head front of house. So what we're now going to do is on the left-hand side, we're going to choose the last option that says business settings. We're going to scroll down and we're going to choose the third option down that says roles and permissions. To the left, you will see your two default site roles. Company manager role cannot be edited. That is the highest level of access and cannot be edited. So we've got our employee role and we've got our site manager role. When we click onto that role, you'll see to the right-hand side any staff members that have been assigned that role. Underneath, you'll view the permissions, and that's basically what I outlined a few minutes ago. These are the default levels of permissions. So you can see this role type. I can view my appointments, I can create my appointments, I can update my appointments. But maybe we're thinking, do you know what? I'd like to edit that. I'd like to change those permissions. Now, please be aware if you have multiple staff members under one role type, so maybe we've got 6 staff members all under the employee role type. If you do adjust the permissions for a specific role, it will therefore adjust it for all employees under that role. So let's take a look at adjusting the permissions. So what we're going to do is click the red word permissions just here. And then as we scroll down, you can expand the permission category by clicking the plus sign to the left-hand side. And you can go forth and update the permissions here. Just simply toggle no to yes or yes to no. When you're happy with your changes, simply click Done to save in the bottom right-hand corner. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, I'm happy to adjust the default roles, but I'm thinking, do you know what? I've got an assistant manager. I'd quite like to create my own role type, and that's perfectly fine to do so. In exactly the same screen, but we will just circle back to how we got here. All we need to do in the bottom left-hand corner is click Business Settings. Choose Roles and Permission, the third option down. And to the bottom right-hand corner, we can now click New. Change the role template here. Now, underneath, if you need to promote or upgrade a staff member's level of access, so if you remember just a couple of minutes ago, we set Sophie up with the employee role type. Maybe she's now being promoted, or you simply just want to add your staff member to it or create a login for that role type as well. You can do that here as well. So you can see here, Sophie doesn't have access to this role type, and we can do so by changing that to yes. And if you wish to also create a login for this role type for a staff member that hasn't been set up yet, you can also do so by clicking Create Login. So now as we scroll down, we will need to take a look at the permissions for this brand new role type. Now, when you expand the categories, you can see everything is pretty much set to no. This is, of course, because we don't know whether this is going to be a really lenient or a really restricted permission type. So you would just simply go ahead and go through all of the options and just change no to yes or yes to no accordingly once you've made the change. When you're happy with your changes, simply click Done in the bottom right-hand corner. And that will now give you 3 role types, and we've added that assistant manager in there. And that is how we can set up a new role type and, of course, set our staff members up. So, of course, we're now set up and we may have added those role types and we've now set our staff members up. Let's take a look at the Cloud Appointment Book and how we use it. To the left-hand side, you will have already seen we have a navigation bar. It's very much similar to the navigation bar we have in Fusion. Apart from in this, the navigation bar appears on the left-hand side. We're going to click Appointments towards the top left-hand corner. And this, of course, will take us to our appointment diary. Now, the Cloud Appointment Book will take into your capabilities. It will take into resources, everything like that you have set up in your Shortcuts Fusion system. It will also synchronize in real time with your main Fusion system. For it to do so, please just ensure that Fusion is connected, switched on, and synchronized. Make sure it's connected to the internet as well. So, of course, this is our Cloud Appointment Book. And as we said at the very beginning, it's all the best bits from Fusion in the cloud. But there are 1 or 2 changes that you may have already spotted. Depending on what color theme you have in Fusion, some of you have the black and green, some of you have the white and green or the white and orange, depending on what theme you have. This is always white, so you can see the background is white just to help you reflect the color a little bit better. And two changes we'll see straight away. We have the hour markers, and I'm just going to demonstrate those now. And we also have the red line, which runs through the day, just helping us keep track. So why have we added this into the cloud? Well, typically this is on a smartphone or a smart tablet, and it's a little bit smaller, so it just makes life a little bit easier. But other than that, it's almost identical to your main Fusion system. So in the top left-hand corner, you will see there is a calendar. In the cloud, it's worth noting that the calendar will allow you to skip to today. And down the center bottom where we've got today's date, this allows us to click into a calendar. So ever so slightly different. So you can see we can go to our calendar from here, and I can just choose my drop down or my drop down years here. You'll still have all of your staff members along the top with their relevant profile photos, and of course you'll have the appointment intervals down the left hand side as well. Some of you may have used filters in Fusion, and you can also use them in the Cloud Appointment Book as well. But if you're not quite sure what a filter is, I'm now going to demonstrate what that is. And it's a great tool to have, especially if you're looking at a column like mine with lots of people that are off, or in general, just lots of staff members. So I'm going to filter my diary down. Towards the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see there's an option that says Filter. We can click onto Filter. And to the right, we can click onto Filter Options. And one of the quickest and most simple filters to use is Rostered On, simply showing you staff members that are rostered or scheduled to work. You can save this filter if you wish to constantly use it. So you can see there is a tab for Save Filters. But if you don't want to, maybe this is just a one-off or you're just wishing to practice, we can just click Apply in the bottom right-hand corner. And you can see it has filtered the diary down, and it is only showing my staff members that are rostered to work today, and it's made life a little bit easier. Let's think about this, ladies and gents, if we are using this on a mobile phone or a tablet. Perfect. I'm just going to answer just one question just to see if it's... Yes, absolutely. No problem. I completely understand. Yes, it is recorded. Let me just grab your details. Perfect. Yeah, it is recorded. I'll be able to send you the details in a couple of hours' time. Thank you ever so much for joining us, and we'll send you over the recording. Have a great day, and we'll speak to you soon. Thank you ever so much. Lovely. So what we were just looking at there was just the filter. So it's a great way to sort of filter that diary down and just make it that little bit easier when we are looking at on our phones or our tablets. And we can remove the filter by simply clicking the filter option in the bottom left and just clicking the clear icon in the bottom right hand corner. And that will remove the filter accordingly. So let's take a look at making an appointment. It's almost identical to your main Fusion system. You'll see I've already got some appointments booked in, and you will notice it has exactly the same color legend. You can see any no-shows, any arrivals, any review modes, or any checked out. So we're now going to go ahead and make an appointment. What I'm going to do is click on my empty time slot, and I can search for customers. Now with this, we do not necessarily need to filter to first name or last name. You can see it can be a combination of first, last name, phone number, or email. You can also view here any recent customers. You can see any checked out customers for today and any remaining customers for today, just in case we need to add on any future services or any extra services. If you need to add a new customer into the database, so let's also think about this. Maybe we've got our cloud appointment book, but the reception desk is really busy. Let's not keep that customer waiting. Let's grab our tablet, let's grab our phone if we're allowed. Let's use the cloud appointment book to add that new customer in, that new appointment in, and we can do so by clicking New Customer here. If you need to add in a task such as meeting or lunch, you can also do so here. So let's go ahead and add that new customer in. You'll see any mandatory options are highlighted in red. we're just going to go through and add those details in. We're going to click Done in the bottom right-hand corner to save our changes. We can see all of our details. You can add in any notes. Those are those yellow post-it notes. And you would also see any future appointments if this was an existing customer. You can also add in an alert. Now, these are the orange and white exclamation marks. So maybe I'm going to say this customer has an allergy to latex. And I'm just going to click Next in the bottom right-hand corner. We can now see the status, it's about to be booked, and we can also add in a tag. Again, these tags will pull through from Fusion. I'm going to say this is a new client. And we're going to click Next. We can now choose our services. If this was an existing customer, it would also show any previous services at the top of the screen. From here, I can search for categories, I can search for services, or I can just go through the list of service categories as normal. I can see a summary of my services down the bottom here. And I'm going to click Done to create that appointment. So you can see the appointment has been made. And I've got all the same fantastic options that I have from Fusion. In the bottom right-hand corner, I can place my finger onto the screen. I can click and drag and make the appointment longer and shorter. If I place my finger in the top left-hand corner, you will see there is a slight waving hand. And I can place my finger or click and drag and move my appointment across to somebody else. And you'll notice exactly the same, those color legend colors will appear to show there is a clash. Now, in the Cloud Appointment Book, we have what we call the touch tip. Now, the majority of you will probably have this set up in your main Fusion system, but if you don't, we can always switch it on for you. But most of you have what we call the touch tip. Now, the touch tip is this here. When I click onto the appointment, you will see it will bring up all of the details there. And this is how it looks in your Shortcuts Fusion system. So we can see that just there as well. We can click onto it and get our touch tip appear as well. Now, the majority of you probably know when we want to arrive the customer, we would usually right-click the appointment. When we want to delete the customer, we would right-click the appointment. You know, we would reschedule all via the right-click. But of course, if we're doing that on a mobile phone or a tablet, it's usually touch screen, so we're not going to be able to right-click. So this is where the touch tip comes in handy. In the bottom right-hand corner, you will see we have these 3 dots. And they give me all of my right-click options. Now, some of you may have noticed we've also introduced that into the Fusion appointment diary. So exactly the same again, you can see I can click onto an appointment, and I've got those exact same 3 dots in the bottom right-hand corner. So we've introduced that into Fusion as well. You'll see I've got loads of options. I can arrive the customer, I can no-show the customer, I can put into the review mode, which is the yellow mode, I can cancel, I can reschedule, rebook, and I can also change appointment, and I can also view my customer history. I can also add in any history notes. I can do so by simply clicking customer history, and I can add visit notes to the right-hand side of my screen. So again, we're talking about that cloud upsell there. So I'm just going to add in my color notes, click return, and it's added in my visit color notes. So we're talking about the cloud upsell there. So we can be doing this down in the treatment room. We don't have to be waiting to get into the reception desk, or even before the service is even started, we can grab the Cloud Appointment Book on a tablet or smartphone, and we can grab all of these color notes, and we can do all of that before we even mix up the color, saving us paper and, of course, time. We can just click return to customer and then just go back to our appointment diary there. Now, something also which is fantastic through that touch tip, so we're just going to click onto it. We're going to click the 3 dots and we're going to look at reschedule. Now, a lot of the times people like to delete the appointment and then just rebook it in, which is technically fine to do, but not so good if you're using upfront payments or cancellation fees. And of course, it does throw the cloud reporting for cancellations out. There's a very quick way to reschedule. So all we're going to do is we're going to choose the reschedule option. We're going to choose a date to reschedule. So I'm going to select Wednesday. Click on a time slot to reschedule, and it gives me the breakdown of it there. And then we just click reschedule. And if we go back to today, oh, sorry, just because I'm on a test system, it's a little bit iffy sometimes with my connection. And what that would do is it would essentially reschedule it backwards and forwards. So it's nice and quick, nice and simple to do so. It saves us having to delete anything out there. Now, what you may have also noticed, something that I sort of breezed over very quickly, and I want to circle back to it if we may. If we go into the touch tip, and if we click the three dots, we can take a look at the SMS customer. Now, this is a fantastic feature to utilize in your cloud appointment book. I'm sure we've all been there where we need to send a bespoke ad hoc text message to that customer. So maybe, they require a skin test, or maybe they're booked in for a pedicure, and we need to ensure that they bring open toe shoes. Maybe they're visiting at a time where there's going to be parking restrictions or anything like that. Or basically, you just want to send a bespoke text message. We can do all of that through the cloud appointment book. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose SMS customer. And you can type out a message just here. Can't spell. Open toe shoes. And you would just click the send button. That's a great way to send a custom message. Now at the top here, you'll notice there's a drop down arrow. And you'll see we've got two templates ready for you to use. So we've got please come to the front desk. So hi James, the team at Shortcuts Retreat are now ready for your appointment. Please come to the front desk. And of course, we've all been there before. We are running late. So sorry, James, we're running a few minutes late. We'll let you know when we're ready to see you. So we're utilizing now our templates. Now, of course, you might think, I'm often sending skin test reminders, or I'm often sending open toe shoe reminders for my pedi clients and everything like that. You're thinking, okay, you often come at a time when we've got parking restrictions. Let's create our own SMS template. In the bottom left-hand corner, we can choose new SMS template, and we can go ahead and add patch test. Underneath, you can create this text message, and you'll also notice there's a default personalized field option. We can click the drop-down arrow, and we can add in customer first name. So it'll say like, hi Chris, hi Amy, and it will bring that data through automatically. And you can go ahead and add in your own bespoke text message template. In the bottom right, we can just click save. So we're now utilizing our template. So you can see I've got that one just there for patch test. So it's a great way to save yourself some time doing that. So as we said at the beginning, what about the point of sale upsell? Now we're not able to check customers out through the cloud. But what we are able to do is add those services on, add those treatments on, add those products on. And of course, why do we do that? Well, like we said, if we're discussing a consultation, let's add that appointment, let's add that service to the point of sale screen straight away. We can book it in, or we can add it to the point of sale screen, whatever we need to do. Saves us missing that sale. Maybe we're down in the treatment room. We discussed adding that service on, that product on. Let's add that product on now. Let's get it to the point of sale screen. Like we said, we don't want to be doing it when the customer's ready to leave, when they're finally checking out, when they're ready and heading out the door. We want to ensure we sort of utilize it straight away and get it added on almost immediately. So we can do this simply by checking out the customer. So you can see here I've got my customer that's already arrived. I can tap onto my appointment and I can click checkout via the touch tip. This will take us directly to the point of sale screen. The point of sale screen can also be found towards the left-hand side, and it's the second icon down. Just to let you know, ladies and gents, the only sort of customers that will appear at the point of sale screen is any customer that has been arrived. So please do make sure that customer has been arrived. So we can see we've got my customer booked in for the massage, 30-minute massage, but I want to add on an additional service. So I'm down in the treatment room. I've discussed an additional service to be added on. I'm grabbing my cloud appointment book. I'm clicking service. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to add that on. Let's add on that conditioning treatment. Nice and simple, nice and quick, but it means we're not forgetting, we're not scrambling around at the end, reminding, front of house to add that treatment on, to add that service on. What about if we want to add a product? Again, to the left-hand side, we just click item to add. We choose product. We go ahead and add those products on there. Nice and simple. Any services or any products you want to remove, you've got the recycle can just here, the sort of delete icon just here, and they can be removed nice and simple. So we've now already updated that bill. We've done it nice and quick, and we're giving a more personalized service to that customer. We've spoken about those products in the comfort of the treatment room or at the styling chair. We've added on extra services. We've added on those extra products. Now, if we do wish to update our customer history, or we do want to add on any notes that we spoke about, and we don't want to do it at the reception desk, like we said, we want to create that more personalized service. Towards the bottom left-hand corner, we can click the history icon, and we can go ahead and see any previous history and add in any additional visit notes to the right-hand side as well. So you can be updating those formula notes or those visit notes as well. You can also click transaction in the top right, and you can basically see a breakdown of any previous history, any previous services, anything like that, and of course how they paid. And we can just go back to sale in the bottom right hand corner. So that's a great way to add on that cloud up. So it's something that we should all be doing. If we give access to our staff, we should all be going through that and just making our life just that little bit easier, and adding, of course, that more personalized one-to-one service. So we're going to take a look now at targets. Now, targets are a great way to sort of encourage your staff to hit their targets. They can keep track of it as well. The last thing, of course, we want is your staff members keep coming to you saying, oh, Chris, how close am I to hitting my service target? Or what's my rebooking rate? Let's give staff their own targets. So to do this, on the left-hand side, we're going to click Employees. And we're going to scroll down to Target Setup. Now, you can set targets up for the business as a whole here, or you can do it for a specific staff member. So you can click onto that staff member, and you can see the KPIs, their key performance indicators. So we can see the total sales. Now, please bear in mind, this is per week. We've got service, sales, and retail. Total sales is service and retail combined. Average spend, rebooking percentage, and the number of customer visits per week. So I'm going to go ahead and add £1,000 in there for my total sales. I'm going to click Done. Just to let you know, those by default are excluding tax. If you do need to make it inclusive of tax, you just need to click the name of your business towards the top left-hand corner here and just toggle it here. So I've set up £1,000 service sale, net sale, for my staff member, Chris. So now we can track this, and it's very simple to do just using a line or a pie chart. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Reports to the left-hand side, second to last option. And we're going to scroll down to the fourth icon down that says Targets. Now with this, you can jump 2 weeks into the future or 2 weeks into the past for your date range. So you can see this week, last week, or the last 2 weeks. And you can also go 2 weeks into the future. And you can filter to a staff member here as well. So I'm just going to filter to my staff member or me. And you can see my total sales so far. I've done £88, so not ideal. I've done £88. And I'm 91% below target. And of course, my target there was £1,000. To the left-hand side, we've got the monetary values. And down the bottom, we have the days of the week. Now, on the days of the week, it does split it down for you. So it essentially divides your target per day to help you sort of calculate what you need to make. Down the bottom, you can see we've got a key. The dashed grey line is your target. The dashed blue line is any pre-booked appointments booked in, so it kind of gives you a bit of a forecast for any appointments that will be checked out. And we can just see this just hiding here if you look very closely. And the solid blue line is my actual amount. That's my actual revenue. So I've done £88 so far. So we can see just by looking at my dashed blue line, it's just hidden underneath here. We can see I'm not really set to make much more money. So it doesn't look like I'm going to meet my target. But if we look at my target here, total sales for this week, £87.50. So I'm £162.50 below target. So it's very encouraging. It lets me know for today, I need to make another £162.50 to be on target. If we stay the same, come tomorrow, come Wednesday, I'll be £412.50 below target. If everything stays the same, Thursday, £662.50, Friday, and then of course Saturday, I'll still be £912.50 below target. So it's a great way to just keep track of absolutely everything. You know, your staff should always be looking at that in between customers, on lunch, and then just thinking, do we need to look at upselling? Can we make that half head a full head? Should I add on a toner? What can we do to increase that customer's bill, but also increase their service experience as well? And that is our targets. A great feature to set up. Now, also, I've got just over 10 minutes. I'm going to try and cram in as much as I can this afternoon, ladies and gents. We're going to take a look at pre-arrival email forms. Now, we will have a dedicated session on this, and I do also have a dedicated video on this. But pre-arrival forms are an absolute game changer when it comes to sending out the client information form or any custom forms that you've created in the console. And they are then emailed to the customer prior to the booking. So if we need to get a waiver form sent out or a skin test or any kind of allergy form filled out, let's save time by sending it pre-arrival, sending it to the customer via email. And it's very quick and very simple to do. So if you're not using custom forms, it will just be the standard client information form. If you are using custom forms, it's the same forms that you find in the console, and they should look like this here. We'll use your custom forms like this. These can all be emailed over. Now, if you want to use custom forms, they're available in the Elevate and Elevate Plus package. If not, if you're not using custom forms, it will just be the standard client information form that we fill out when we have a new customer. So these can all be emailed to the customer, and it's very easy to do. And it's all done via that cloud appointment book. So all we need to do to set this up is simply go to, on the left-hand side, is simply go to your messages on the left-hand side and activate the appointment acknowledgement. Now you can see here your appointment acknowledgement can be sent 5 minutes, hours, days, or just, in general, minutes, hours, and days after an appointment is created or changed. So this will be made for all appointments. This will be any online bookings, face-to-face, over the phone, or anything like that. So if we go into the email, you will notice there is a field for forms here, and it says link to forms. So that will add in any forms that have been activated, the standard client information form and any custom forms as well. To activate this, all we need to do is simply click the green activate button. So if I just deactivate it just very quickly, it's just the green activate button like that there. So how do we then link our forms to our services? So we know it's going to be added into an email, but how do we then go ahead and link the forms to the services? So how does it know which service requires a skin test form? So all we're going to do towards the left-hand side is we're going to click onto business settings and we're going to choose customer forms. Once we've clicked onto customer forms, you'll see any activated forms we have on the left-hand side, including the standard client information form and any custom forms as well. We can click onto the form. We can toggle it to be automated from inactive to active. We can then choose the client type. So who will this be emailed to? Will it be to new clients? existing clients, or all clients? Will it be sent once, every visit, or every X amount of days, weeks, or months? So we now know the send schedule. But of course, what services is it going to be related to? So which services will trigger these forms to be emailed? So what we're going to do is we're going to click Select Services. And to the right-hand side, you'll see your service categories. If it's all services within a category, you can simply tick the box like this here. But if you want to sort of have a look at the specific services and just make one or two, you can do so by clicking the drop-down arrow and selecting just one or two products like that there. And then what we're going to do is click Done. And that will now determine which services will be sent that form. So my skin allergy test, we can now see will be emailed to all clients, every visit, and it will include these list of services here. So once those services are booked, they will be sent my appointment acknowledgement email, including the form. Now, how does it look? So as soon as an appointment is made, after 5 to 10 minutes, whatever your send schedule is, the email will be sent with the form, and it will go into this yellow review mode like this here. And you can see if we click onto it, you'll see which forms have been sent, but the red cross will identify whether those forms have been filled out via the customer. So they'll get an email with the link to these two forms in the email. When the customer has filled out that form, there'll be a green tick. If they haven't filled out the form, like my customer here, there would be two red crosses here. So it's telling me that customer has not filled out the forms from the email. If you need to resend the forms, we can click the three dots in the bottom right-hand corner and simply click Resend Forms here. And that will resend any form that is not being filled out. If the customer has filled out a form and there is a green tick next to it, meaning they have filled it out, we can click the three dots and it will only resend the forms that have not been filled out. And of course, if we need to see the form that they filled out and the information, we can click onto it and it will show that information there. And that is our pre-arrival email forms. Now, just as we draw to a close, we're going to take a look at our related and recommended services. Like we said, we crammed quite a lot in for this afternoon, but we're going to take a look at our related and recommended services. So again, let's just recap on what those are. Required services, related services, required services is essentially saying we're pairing services together. So often we get those appointments that book a color, for example, but they don't add in a finishing service. So if they book a color, they don't add in a wash, cut and blow dry, and it happens right at the end of the day. Recommended services is an organic upsell, a way to add in service pairings, and it's a fantastic way to sort of upgrade, should we say, the service. So if we're booking a color, we might recommend a toner. We might recommend a treatment. If we're booking in for a manicure, we might recommend a soak off or a pedicure, whatever it may be. It's a fantastic way to increase the average spend of the customer. And it's all done automatically when a customer is booking online. So how do we do this? So again, on the left-hand side, all we need to do is click onto business settings. We can choose online booking. And in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll have related services. Now, as I said, this comes in the Elevate and Elevate Plus package, but if you do want to add it on, please let me know at the end or speak to our customer success team on 0161 972 4900, option 1, option 2. But it's very quick, very simple to set up. We just simply click onto related services. In the bottom right-hand corner, we would click New. And we would type in the name. So we got color required or color requires. Underneath, we then have the relationship. So we'll have two when we click the drop down arrow. We've got require another service and recommend other services. So when we click require another service, we then choose the primary services. These are the services that have to be booked in primarily. These are the services that are booked first. So you'll notice for this, I've got my color services. I've got balayage, highlights, full head, half head, toner, full head tint, regrowth. If If you want to remove any, simply take the tick or place the tick to add them. And click Done in the bottom right-hand corner. Underneath, you can now choose the secondary services. So we're going to say it requires at least one of. So I've added in my primary services, my balayages, my full head of highlights. And I'm going to say when they're booked online, it requires at least one of these services here. These are my secondary services to be automatically booked. And I'm going to choose from my styling drop-down arrow, ladies blow dry, cut and finish, or a normal blow dry and a restyle as well there. And then we just click Done again. And we click Save in the bottom right-hand corner. And that simply means when my primary services, when my color services are booked, it will require at least one of those styling services. Now you will also notice I've added in a recommend with styling. So I'm now going to talk about recommending. I'm going to look at organically upselling. So again, to do this, we just click New in the bottom right-hand corner. Add the name in, so such as recommend with styling. And we're going to choose the drop-down arrow. We're going to choose recommend other services. From here, again, we're going to choose those primary services. These are the services that have to be booked first. Now, I'm going to choose my styling services. And the reason I've chosen my styling services is this will also work hand in hand with your required services. So we've already said whenever we book a color, it requires a styling service. So we know those styling services are going to be booked. So I'm now going to choose my primary services for my recommended services to be styling. And then when a styling service is booked, because we know that's going to be automatically booked when we have a color, so we know those styling services are pretty much always going to be booked at the very least. Once a styling service is booked primarily, I'm then going to recommend other services. And I'm going to recommend my 2 treatments. So just to recap there, I've got my required service. When I book a color, I will be required to book at least one of my styling services. I've also set up my recommended services. When my primary styling service is booked, it's then going to recommend my treatment services. So let's take a look at how this will function with an online booking. When a customer books online, it will go through the usual steps. So we're going to click Make a Booking. We'll go through the usual steps here. So I'm going to add on a balayage, for example. So you can see I'm going to click balayage here. And as soon as I do so, it tells me it requires an additional service. So that's my required services working hand in hand. So it requires at least one of. So I'm going to add on my blow dry. And we can see that to the right-hand side here. Now you will notice I'm not able to delete that blow dry. I can't be sneaky and delete that blow dry. You'll notice there's an information icon here. If I click onto that, you can see this type of service is required by that balayage. Now I'm going to click Next. And you will see it says you may also like. So there's my recommended services. So often booked with a ladies blow dry, we've got the conditioning treatment or the emulsion treatment there. So I'm going to go ahead and add that on. And you can see I've taken my bill from what was 180 up to £220 there. So I've added an additional sort of £40 onto that bill. And from there, we would just go ahead and complete the steps as normal. And that is it, ladies and gents. That is our cloud features, our targets, our pre-arrival email forms, and our related services. Thank you ever so much for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop those across to me now. Lovely, thank you ever so much. Perfect. So if you do want to go ahead with this, it's just 0161 972 4900 is option 1 and then option 2. Thank you ever so much for joining us this afternoon. I hope you've enjoyed one of our Shortcuts masterclasses. Please do give us a like, share and a follow on our socials. You can find us on Instagram at ShortcutsUK. You can also find us on Facebook at ShortcutsUK. For any future masterclasses we have lined up, you can head on over to our website at shortcuts.co.uk/online-classes, or you can drop us an email at education@shortcuts.co.uk. Thank you ever so much for joining me this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I shall speak to you all again soon. Thank you ever so much. Take care. Bye-bye for now.